Well, electrical contractors in South Africa work under dangerous conditions. Leads to a supposed lack of interest in the electrical contracting industry from government. Find out what some of the challenges are faced by this industry. We're joined by Pierre Foot, who's Regional Director of the Electrical Contractors Association in the Western Cape. Good morning, Pierre. Let's start, I suppose, with this big picture allegation. I happen to have an article from Mark Botha, editor of Vector magazine, who talks about the apparent lack of interest and the lack of control exercised by the Department of Labour over the electrical contracting industry. I mean, the stakes are high here in safety alone.
Absolutely.
What are we going to do about this?
I lost you there. I didn't hear the... Okay, well, the Department of Labour, which is the one that's been tackled in that article, is actually the department that's the custodian of the electrical installation regulations. They have to enforce compliance of those regulations, and there's a definite lack of interest from them in doing so.
What about the policing aspect? And one thinks of cable theft. I mean, that's a kind of another kind of problem, but even the Gautrain, for example, they started the Gautrain in the mid-2000s. They knew all about cable theft, which was a problem we hadn't had in South Africa before. And you would have thought that they could have planned for it, and I think they did plan for it. But the thieves, you know, always find a way, and the Gautrain several times has been hit by cable theft. So it's hard enough to police a localized thing like the Gautrain. I mean, is it possible to police the electrical contracting world?
Absolutely. You take, for example, the legislation provides that electrical contractors must register annually, and they have to register with the Department of Labour. Prior to that, in September last year, registration was done by the Electrical Contracting Board, where the association assisted in such registrations. But it's now done by the Department of Labour, and they have to register annually. That's an easy way to police. You have to register. If you're not registered, you're unlicensed, so you shouldn't be operating. And we report many such instances to the Department of Labour, but they just don't follow them up, where we have given them names and details of unregistered operating electrical contractors.
What does the problem seem to be, Pierre? Is it that the department theoretically is supposed to fix things, but in practice they don't have the manpower, they don't have the inspectors, don't have the personnel, don't have the expertise? What's the problem?
I think it's just a general lack of interest on their side. They have the power to enforce it. I certainly think they do have the manpower, but they just don't follow up on anything that we forward their way.
Looking also at the registration of contractors at the other end of the scale, I personally have had experience of where you have people coming to do work at your house and you ask them for a wiring certificate, and it appears to take them aback that they need a wiring certificate. Now, how much unregistered electrical contracting work is going on? Because if you're saying that there is this problem with registration, presumably a lot of people who may or may not be qualified, but they're not registered.
That is, in fact, very much the situation that we find ourselves in, yes. They are not registered, and we always say to the homeowner, you should firstly ask for their proof of registration. As I've mentioned, they have to register with the Department of Labour now. You should have proof of such registration. But the department is, as I'm sorry if I repeat myself, but they're just not following up on the unregistered ones that we provide.
Well, we've got to find out from them why that follow-up isn't happening. I also see that the Electrical Contractors Association has asked for access to the database. Is there a problem with getting access? And as far as you know, is that database of registered contractors, does it have integrity? Is it up to date? Has it got all the stuff that it needs?
There I couldn't answer you, because the department has taken the database over from September last year. Prior to that, we had full access to the database. And it's not only the association that requires access. You've got the municipalities, you've got members of the public, you've got the National Bargaining Council for the electrical industry. They all need access to that database to actually check, is this contractor legitimate? Is he registered, yes or no? And we used to have access to that, but no longer since September. And that's an aspect we're trying to get clarity from the department on. Can we have access? But they're not responding.